Thanks a lot. So I think once an hour, that's what got me very disturbed about this whole thing. And that's the frequency with which veterans are committing suicide in this country every single day. About 22 a day, actually, so just under that. It's about 27 47s a year of vets crashing. It's about double the teen rate, which is what's often looked at as the most critical problem we have in the country. So it makes us think a little bit, what can we do? As a country, the VA spends about $150 billion a year on veteran services. So it's not for lack of money, most likely. While the VA gets a lot of bad press, we've all heard it, I've yet to meet one there who actually isn't a passionate patriot and doing amazing things for vets out there. So it's not a blind eye. There's something else going on here. As Ben said, 750,000 claims are waiting right now at the VA, 60% of which are over 120 days old. It's a long time to wait. So what do you do? It sounds very depressing. For me personally, I go to soup kitchens and help those in the shadows, and I speak at veterans' job opportunities, but those are all just minor things. And so about 3 years ago, I guess it was now, I was in DC giving a talk about something probably not very important. And the Saturday morning I got up, I was able to go down to the shores of the Potomac and join an organization called Team River Runners, which is an organization, it's a great organization that takes wounded warriors out and helps with their rehab by doing kayaking. So I was pretty excited. So I got down there and I thought it'd be a great day to actually be taught how to kayak by somebody who had more skill than I did, which wouldn't be hard in kayaking. And so my instructor, turns out, was a 20-year-old, just come back, was honorably discharged because of his injuries, because he was blown up twice overseas, and he had traumatic brain injury. He couldn't walk. He had a horrible stutter. He had no short-term memory at all when he got back. But at Walter Reed, they did a great job rehabbing his body. He was much more capable than I was of kayaking, that's for sure, which, again, wouldn't be too hard, I guess. But what really struck me was what Team River Runner had done with the other parts of his body, his mind, his spirits. And we talked a lot about what happened. And we talked a lot about the fact that he could go to a place with people like him and people like me who were in no way associated with the military, without charity, without stigma, and actually just be with people that understood the plight that he and so many others had gone through. So I thought that's an interesting way to look at it. And looking at what they had done, it was an interesting thing to me to see just how much that connection, that one-to-one connection and the opportunities that afforded for structured feedback and for structured guidance, and just even help to understand how do you get through those 400,000 VSOs that Ben talked about. And that got me thinking, okay, maybe there's something here that can scale. So I went and I started doing all this research on, and there's actually, I think, more than 400,000 VSOs now, if I technically talk to. And it was amazing just how much it was. And I was so excited. I'm like, 400,000 VSOs, that's awesome. But the bad news is 59% of vets don't even know what's open to them. 76% of vets say, hey, I want to use the web, but you saw that. And it was Google, so obviously there was a problem with that. What do you expect? Of course you're going to get crap back from that. No, I'm kidding, sort of. But in all seriousness, it's overwhelming. There are 508, I think, forms in the VA website alone. So there's just no chance. Even those who are well-versed in understanding how to navigate this area, it's not going to happen. So I asked, what could I do? Again, soup kitchen's great, speaking is great, but as a company, what can we do? We looked around, and just like every other Fortune 500 company, we've had vets initiatives. There's a lot of them out there doing great work, but it really wasn't moving the needle as far as its metrics. The metrics are all going the wrong way. Every single one of them is going the wrong way. Unemployment, suicides, death, underemployment, it's all going the wrong way. So what do we have? Well, we have a lot of tech, we have a lot of people, we have a lot of money. And so one thing we have that's different is we have a lot of connections. So in essence, we have connections in almost everything, government and media and commercial and tech. And I thought, what if we just actually started calling in favors? And that's where the feast came in. Well, there wasn't a favor, but I'm sure now they're asking, my God, how much did I have to do for this project? We all pushed each other very hard to get this done. But it was all about how can we tap into that amount of resource that we have, not just treasure, but also time and talent, and use that in a way to actually move the needle? So we went through many iterations of the challenge that you can see in your dossier, and you'll see appear on the screen. And of course, when a research guy looks at a problem of big data, the first thing that he always thinks about is, well, let's make it a search problem. Obviously, it's data, we can search it, and then we're done. And it's been talked about, that's not exactly the best solution here. So we kind of stopped, I stopped at least, and thought about that day back in the Potomac and what actually seemed to make a difference. And that was this ability to connect and find and actually be guided through from people who could help you along the way. So last weekend, as you guys heard, we held a hackathon here in the city. I think we had, 19 plus people there for the weekend. We locked them in a room, fed them occasionally. And they did amazing work, and you're going to see the results of that later today, but there's a ton left to do. I'm also pleased to announce, just as of last week, after working with our teams internally on Bing, we are going to be looking at all the queries we see that are veteran-related queries coming in, and working with the White House and the VA, we're going to be creating far better answers, far better results for vet-related queries for those who come to Bing to do that. So I'm pretty stoked about that, actually. It was the easiest feature I ever had to request. It was so easy. It was amazing. But the work isn't done. Certainly not here. There's a lot we have to do. So without any more ado, I want to show the challenge. If we could pull that up, please. Again, you can read it in your dossier, but the challenge that we put forth is build a platform that makes it easier for vets to reconnect with their communities. We want to engage the public and create opportunities for civilians, all of us, most of us in here probably, to help. And then beneath that, there are a couple of sub-challenges as well. And one we worked on last weekend, which was this technical platform for veterans to do that. And then the other is to actually start a movement for the public, and this is where I think a lot of the work can happen later today and tomorrow, around destigmatizing it, telling folks how you talk to a vet appropriately. It's just the little things that I think a lot of us are scared to do when it comes to that. So this is the challenge, and over the next couple of days, or actually the next, I guess 24 hours or so, hopefully we can make some good progress, and then, of course, there from beyond. Before I hear from other more competent speakers in vets today, I do want to just read you a great quote from a guy that is my idol, Dean Kamen, who does a lot of things. But one of the things he's doing now is working on a new prosthetic arm for vets who've lost their arms through injury in combat. He gave a TED Talk a few years ago, and I think it's amazing. He says, "I think this country ought to continue its great debate, whining and complaining. I'm entitled, you're a victim, and whining and complaining about foreign policy. But while we have the luxury of whining and complaining about who is paying for what, and how much we get, the people out there who are there giving us the privilege of whining and complaining, I know what they deserve. Everything humanly possible, and we ought to give it to them." I just think it's a beautiful way to think about the challenge we have here. And while I wouldn't even pretend the work that we can do in a weekend or over the course of a couple of days can approach the level of what he's doing with Walter Reed and everything else, I do think it's a really good opportunity for us to stop and think. All of our luxuries, all of our abundance, a lot of our excess we have. In my industry, especially when you think about what people are working on, and as we complain about, or as we actually launch a petition in Paris to save Uber, it's actually happening right now, or complain about not being able to find a technical co-founder, or bitch about the fact that the Wi-Fi is down on Virgin America, I hope we can stop and reflect that a lot of our successes are built on the backs of a lot of sacrifices that we didn't have to make. And when you think about the current political arena we're in and what a mess it is, it doesn't really matter what side of the aisle you're on. If you're a libertarian, if you're a Tea Partier, or if you're a hardcore liberal, we have that ability to be that because of what someone else has done. And that privilege comes with a price. And I think it's a pretty reasonable price. At the very minimum, it's not to forget. But I think we can do more. I know we can do more in this group. And so I'll end with another quote. I never do quotes in speeches, but I just love Carl Sagan. So it's my other hero of the world. So I'll end it with this one. It says, "The significance of our lives and our fragile planet is then determined only by our own wisdom and courage. We are the custodians of life's meaning. We long for a parent to care for us, to forgive us, to save us from our childish mistakes. But knowledge is preferable to ignorance. Better by far to embrace the hard truths than a reassuring fable. If we crave some cosmic purpose, then let us find ourselves a worthy goal. I just can't think of a better one. So let's get going. Thanks.